Apple Prof here, and we've got some videos for you guys. You might have seen this box from B&H. That is the replacement for the B580. We got that box from Japan. Now we got that box from Japan today. And we got Amazon Prime. We got some Game Bop. Boom, bop, bop, Game Bop. And we got some more Amazon. Holy, we're not doing all that tonight. I can tell you that much. Because it is like 2:30. I took a Friday off to work on the garage. Hopefully the temps come down because we got predicted 90 plus degree weather with, what was it? Heat index of over 100. Friday, though, it was supposed to be the thunderstorms. And I can work in the garage during thunderstorms. No problem there. So this is what I used my remaining Best Buy GameStop gift card for. I had a little bit left. The 1 year from work. Actually, that's on my 4070 Ti that I got. I got was from that. So the rest of it I got these with. Now they make black ones of these. So if you're interested in these, I actually, because they use planar, is it planar pneumatic or planar magnetic? I forget which one it is. But they make actually black ones of these. I think these look so dumb, and I'll put on my head and show you. I think these look so dumb and white. It looks like you got some like white halo on your head. Let me put it as a 0.5 zoom. There you go. You know, like I'm sitting there in a meeting at work and this looks dumb as shit. Not that I normally care how I look, but I try not to look dumb. So, looks like Sony got the feedback that having a giant like hair loop on your head in white isn't great. My idea there is I need to give this a shot, but I got a roll of matte black vinyl. I think it's 3M vinyl. Yep, 3M vinyl. I'm going to try to wrap the headphones with it. Don't see why it wouldn't work. I think D-Brand actually sells wrap for the non-Pulse Elite variant, just the Pulse 3D, I think. So this is the color I decided to go with. It's like an iridescent. It did cost like $5 more over the normal standard colors. And with this, I was going to do separate videos, but it came in quick enough. I got the, I forget, it's like game something. It's the brand that made the Xbox controller stands for the Xbox One. Razer then bought out I don't know if they bought it out completely, but they bought the patent for the game stand. I have the OG game stand, and then they made a charging one. Well, it seems like Razer has made the same, because they have the tech, they got the license effectively. They made the same sort of stand for the PlayStation controller that they have for the Xbox controller. Except they don't even need to include a battery because that's already in the DualSense. So, and I just went with black because it's kind of the accent color on this is black. This was only $20. They're normally like 40, I think, through the GameStop one at 40. I think these didn't sell as well as Razer thought they would, or they don't have them in enough markets. Realistically, if these were right next to that and I was still at Best Buy selling shit, every one of these, I would try to sell one of those. Because they're made, I think it was just like controller gear that's still going through my head. I have quite a few of their Xbox stand ones, and the Razer one that even matches my Forza, is that the right one? Controller, like matches the, like they even have the, like the colorways licensed to match the controllers exactly. Now if you have an Elite 2, I don't know if the 2 core has it. At least the Elite 2 has a built-in battery and a charger now. So if you saw my translucent red one, don't need anything like that because it's built right into the box, like the casing itself. And if you don't want to use the casing, the charger does come out. This looks like a paper sticker. Interesting. This was the last one my local Best Buy. I keep saying Best Buy because I normally, who goes to GameStop anymore, right? Their app is awful. Like if you just type in PlayStation controller new or PS5 controller, they are really pushing the used stuff, and the used stuff is only $5 less, I think. Now if you go on the website, it finds it much easier, but the app, holy shit, it's garbage. Like I found one new one, then you could choose the colors and stuff. The iridescent ones, because they're $5 more, are a different listing though. And you're like, why are you getting? I thought you prefer the Xbox, like the offset sticks. I do, but there are games now on Steam that have native DualSense controller support. And everybody always tells me this is the best PlayStation controller nowadays. People who said I don't know. That's why I bought it, is to find out. Because I disagreed when people were like, oh, the DualShock 4 is so much better than the DualShock 3. I disagree. I think the way that you the type of games that PlayStation is known for, and the PS4 started going, at least in the US, going away from that a little bit, and the PS5 is way, because it's like multiple times as much sales as the Xbox Series line of consoles. So people who would normally have played, say, Call of Duty on an Xbox are now playing Call of Duty on PlayStation, right? I think even on the PS4 era, PlayStation was getting updates sooner than... that was actually a part of a thing with the lawsuit with Activision, is Sony was like, well, we're not, with Microsoft owning Activision Blizzard, well, they're obviously not going to give us exclusivity on stuff in the game anymore. And basically that got thrown out of court because, yeah, they're not saying you're not getting the game. You're complaining that you're not getting exclusive access. Like, you get more loadout slots on the PlayStation version of the game, even over the PC. In some of the older games, you could actually pay to get those slots back. Like, you would just get them on PlayStation. On the newer versions of Call of Duty, you couldn't even get those benefits. Or there'd be maps exclusive to PlayStation. All this dumb shit. And Sony's argument for why Microsoft shouldn't get Activision was like, oh, well, we won't be able to get our exclusivity parts of Call of Duty anymore. And like I said, they got thrown out because it's not like they're not getting Call of Duty. They are. They're just not getting... They wouldn't be getting the exclusivity agreements. And Microsoft said that, like, yeah, no, we're purposely gonna release everything. Look at that. I want to say it has a little bit more of a blue-gray tinge. Yeah, what the heck? That looked black. The online pictures don't do a good job of this. That's like black or almost black. Here. That's actually blue. Like a dark blue. Maybe with a touch of green, like a turquoise almost. Like a dark turquoise. I don't know what other color that would be. But I think I like the picture on the box better than in reality. Like if you hit the light right, it looks like that. Sort of. They also didn't, like, if you see, there's like all this heavy flake in here. I don't know. I'm slightly disappointed, actually, like legitimately. It's so much bigger than a DualShock 4 or a... It just vibrated at me. Or a DualShock 3. Like, this is chunk. Like, holy... Did they finally make this for, like, American hands, basically? So 5 volt at 1500 milliamp. That means that this, if you're going to use this on PC, you want to plug it into a USB 3 port. I mean, it is USB-C, so you can go USB-C to USB-C. You're probably pretty likely to get a USB 3 port, but yeah, right there, 1500 milliamp. USB 2 only does natively, if you're within spec, up to 500. USB 3 does 1500. Then you have to start going to USB-C PD if you want to go significantly above that. But yeah, I am a little bummed. I mean, I don't hate the color by any means, but it's like, I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera at all, but it's got like a sheen to it that definitely was not in the image. Like this blue undertone from this plastic is like over like a gloss layer, like a candy over the whole thing. If it wouldn't have that, I think it would be actually look, and they're trying to do the iridescent thing. So if you look at it from here, you can see like green and then it shifts to blue. Right, that's what they're going for. I actually think it probably looks better on camera than it does in real life, because in real life you can actually see like this whole surface, except right there where it's like really green right now, looks like it's got this blue haze over the whole thing. Okay, so this, I personally think, once again, that Sony is going the wrong direction. Now, I haven't used this in an actual game. I'll have to try that. Like, I'm going to get Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. We'll see. But in my opinion, it locks you in. It does work pretty well for the 2 fingers on, like one on each trigger, which is quite important actually for a lot of Sony games. And then you would use, you use this. Some people might even go as far as, like, the pro gamer move is you actually use just your, like, you squish it in your hand, you use your pinkies underneath here, then you use your ring finger and middle finger for this, and then you can use your pointer fingers for the face buttons, and use your thumbs for this. That gives me carpal tunnel. I actually consider, like, even trying to do it. It's like quite fat in the grips. Like, I would say this is fatter than the Xbox Series controllers. Like right in the meat of your meaty paw. You know, so it fits very good here, and you can trigger. Getting over to here is not as bad. I would say it's not as bad of a shift as on DualShock 4. But this does lock you in way more. Now, if you go this route, it's not as bad. You know, like you use the 2 finger on the back buttons. Let me know for those of you out there that are native, very regular PlayStation users. Like I said, I haven't used this yet. I plan to. I always preferred the PlayStation layout for Tony Hawk, for the JRPGs. That thing is getting big and heavy though. That's all okay. Like I'm off angle now. It's blue, not green. Yeah, they really need to take a better picture, or if that on the front, it might actually be a render. The picture on the box does not catch how heavy that flake is. So this gets really meaty, like right there. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. Here's a DualShock 4. I think it's not wide enough here. Right? So they added meat here, which is like fine for this. Once again, fine here, kind of fine there. I prefer sitting open more like this, and because they slimmed these grips though, like if you just want to hold it in your lap like this, you don't have support here. Whereas if you do it with DualShock 3, I think people misunderstand and they want this to be a controller. It isn't. This is why I would, and maybe this is just from the era I come from, but this thing really needs a dusting from a microfiber. This is my brand new DualShock 3. With how this is, and if you're going to do here and here, and you want to hit this one, right? If you notice, this fills this because it's very skinny this way, but very chonk that way. So when you just lay it in your hand like this, like you don't grip it, like you don't do that, right? You kind of just let it. You're kind of just pushing it between your two fingers here and this, and this is very comfortable. Like, I shouldn't say very comfortable. It's a grip style that works quite well, if you ask me. This is a PlayStation controller. Like, PlayStation 1 just didn't have analog sticks. Then there was one that had one analog stick, and they had two analog sticks. And I forget what the... Because there's the DualShock, which has the sticks. There's the DualShock 2, which has, you know, it's the PlayStation 2 corded one. And then there's DualShock 3, which is this one. And prior to that, there was the 6-axis, which they couldn't have the vibration motors in due to patent issues. There was, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, no. There wasn't ever one with a single stick. There was. And you can find it online. It is very niche, though, because it was only out for a short period of time before they realized, oh, we should put two sticks on it, not just one. Most games, though, because initially it was just planned for, a lot of them only still use the right stick. I'll use D-pad over here. Because you could use the D-pad to move around and then the stick to aim, sort of thing. At least that was the thought. Like, you leave your hand down here, and then you can switch there. You can switch there. But this thing is so freaking light. Just like there's barely anything there. You know, supposed PlayStation fan over on LTT, I think it was David, was saying like this is his least favorite PlayStation controller, and I would disagree. I think this is my favorite, still to this day, even with the DualSense right there. It's so weird that on the box that looked almost black, but like this is really a blue base of a controller. There's like a white one. I wonder what route that would have been. Like, you want to see these in person if you can to make the decision. I'm semi-regretting it, but not regretting it because it looks nice, but it doesn't look like the box. I will say... Okay, so DualSense better than DualShock 4 currently. This is such a reach from here to there. Like, that is a stretch, if you ask me. This, like I said, it works better if you do the two-finger bumper, because then you can grip this on here with your whole hand. Bought this one because I broke my original Xbox Design Lab joystick playing Tony Hawk 1 and 2 back in the day. Well, not originally, with like the remaster, right? So then I bought this DualShock 4 because I hadn't acquired this yet. Yeah, for me, this is a PlayStation controller. If I'm gonna go play a JRPG, this is what I want to play with, because I don't know how to show this, but basically, like, you're holding it loosely. You're not playing an FPS where you're like, oh, this thing feels so big. This thing's massive. I guess it's got to depend on what type of games you play. The triggers on this are actually way, way better. Like, they feel much more similar to an Xbox controller. These still felt like they're finally analog, but they're flimsy. And these are analog, and they're even more like mushy and flimsy, right? Like, you have to remember, a lot of games, like if we go back to like original Resistance, it's right bumper to shoot, not right trigger. Like bumper, bumper, bumper. Because this is such a stretch to get down here, it shifts your entire hand forward. A lot of, and you have to remember back on PS1 and PS2, the bumper and the trigger were both digital. Now on the PlayStation 2 they were pressure sensitive, so you could like push it harder. Same thing with the face buttons. The face buttons on the DualShock 3 as well are pressure sensitive. So like, you know, acceleration in the game, you'd actually press the X button harder, like softer or harder. And that's also how you know if you have a fake one. Fake ones of the DualShock 3 will not have the pressure sensitive buttons, where like it can actually see how hard you're pushing them, not just if you're pushing them. That's the easiest way, at least, to do that. This just feels so light. Battery on this thing lasted a whack. I mean, like, the battery's dead in this one. I have to get it a new battery. When they were new, the battery lasted forever. Now, granted, you couldn't charge them on a USB charge. You had to charge it on the console or on the PC directly off like an active USB port, and it would go slow as molasses. But to me, this is a PlayStation controller. Now, that maybe because I come from the era of PS1, a heckin' ton of PS2, for specific games. You know, like most of the stuff I would say was on GameCube for me in that era. But then a lot of the Japanese games only would come out on PS2, unless they were like Nintendo or Nintendo-friendly publishers. You know, but your Final Fantasies, PS2. You know, even though it used to be a Nintendo franchise, like this, I don't know. It's a different kind of grip though. Like I said, like you have to hold your hand wider, whereas like on something like this, your hand is in more. Like they're trying to make it more so that when you do handle, you can kind of get away with it, but you are missing grip here, like because your hand is out wider, right? And then you can do this, and it tightens up. But DualShock 4 was just like, they went away from this, but they didn't go hard enough, right? Whereas I'd argue, yeah, you can tell that this is further away here. So you can see where my thumb is. This is my smaller thumb. Right thumb is bigger. So that wouldn't be, but I'm just barely nudging this stick, and I can actually get it like between here. You can still see some of the D-pad. If I do this on the DualSense, I am covering the D-pad completely. So they put the stick closer, which is good, because if you notice here, same thing. Now I prefer dome sticks. You might have seen that from my Xbox design lab for the Elite 2, or whatever the correct term for that thing is, and I switched mine to dome sticks. So I am not partial to, they kept the same style sticks as on the PS4 with these kind of fine. It's closer to how Xbox does the sticks, because you actually control it via the outside, right? Now maybe the era that I come from, but with the dome top, your thumb is always touching the middle, right? Rather than rolling it around the outside. If that makes sense, because you never would put your finger in there. This thing is chonky. Like, see if we can use the postage scale. Let's go. Oh, I got a ton of shit with it. Can't bring the camera. Okay, postage scale on. DualSense, not charged. 9.6, 9.7. It's kind of fluttering between the two. Ounces, not grams. DualShock 4, 7.8. So we gained an ounce over the DualShock 4. Right? 7.8. Remember, that was DualShock 4. $6.1. So almost 2 ounces from this guy to this guy. 3 and a bit, like almost 4 ounces to that guy. And since we were only at 6, that's like a 50% weight increase from the DualShock 3 to the DualSense here. That's what I'm saying. It's hefty. I am very surprised that I'm hearing people that are like, oh, I love the Xbox controller. Let's go grab some Xbox controllers. Let's go on a hunt I said, I got too many controllers. But a lot of mine are like one or two of, oh, maybe not the Xbox one's got a lot of those. But let's go on a hunt here. We got ourselves the, here you go, the matching Forza Horizon one. Yeah. And we got the, what is it? Xbox Elite Series 2 or something like that. So these will be the most comparable to DualSense. People are saying like, oh, the only one I like better than the Xbox is the DualSense. I don't know about that. Now this is one of the only ones that has that sort of like, looks almost like a car steering wheel. It took me a while to get that one. Because of course I'm trying to buy it. It's a limited edition one. I'm buying it months after it's no longer made. And then I find Walmart has them online. I buy it. And of course it comes with bad, may have seen that video quite a while ago, but it had bad something. Was it button or trigger or bumper? Something like that. And I had to tell them like, hey, but it's not available on, oh, this feels so much better. This arrangement. Okay, so like when you grab this, your hand goes right here. You're on the stick, and you can hit this one without moving any of this, because your fingers are made not two of this like this, but like this, and you can just roll up and hit that. That's been since even like third-party Xbox 360 controller days. Now where I run into issues when I'm mashing these buttons, this grip, because I'm actually holding it wider if I'm holding it in my lap. Can get like this part especially can rub on my hand. Like it's actually like too grippy. I found at times. But yeah, see, domed. I had to buy 2 sets of sticks because normally the stick sets only come with 1 domed stick. So I had to buy 2 domed stick sets in order to get. But like playing Tales of Berseria, you're moving around and you're like boo 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 trigger. You know, trigger, ba 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 ba. Actually, I've probably forgotten how to play off the top of my head. If I jumped in there, I would be able to pretty quickly, probably. But because it's been the better part of a month now before I've been able to play again. Yeah, once it starts getting 2 months since my last time playing, my brain starts to get, you know, like to get rid of that cache. It doesn't need that info. So this one feels great. I mean, I know it would. It's their top controller, and yes, the equivalent of this is they have like a $200 version of the DualSense. I forget what it's called. But even this guy, ergonomics might not be as nice on this one, I would say. I mean, definitely this one definitely feels better. Like holy shit. Yeah, but it's still an Xbox controller here. I would actually argue it's maybe a little too sharp on the angle here. Like I think these sticks are a little too tall as well. On the like, I didn't like them when they went to the Xbox One sticks. 360 sticks were GOAT. 360 sticks were also very similar to the PlayStation 3 sticks, wide and short. That's my preferred method. If you notice, I went shorter with the convex tops. Like this, to me, just feels so much better with the slightly shorter stick with the convex top. That's why I, you know, put the money on this one and did that, because I can reach this way easier with the convex top than I can this guy, just being up that little bit higher. Like it feels like this finger is lifting, or this stick here on the right is lifting my whole hand up and making that like some uncomfortable angle. That's just, you know, the other thing on the Xbox One sticks versus the 360, you actually had, despite it being taller, which would normally give you more angle left and right, which would give you more precision, it actually has less throw than an Xbox 360 stick. The Xbox 360 stick can like tilt like way more, which makes this controller feel much more twitchy. And as somebody who did a lot of competitive gaming on the 360 controller in both Halo and Call of Duty, like I was dialed in. That's why I have one of the first competitive, I think it's like the Wolverine from Razer for the Xbox One, not Series. Like this is a Series One. I don't know if this is a Series or an Xbox One. I don't remember. It might be early Series. But the Wolverine actually had Xbox 360 style sticks, not the Xbox One style sticks. This especially here, that is rough. Like when you're holding it here and you need to go push away because you're actually pushing on that side of it. You know, I guess you could lift like that rather than like, because if you push on that side, that's really pulling like this whole. You guys are like, you're thinking way too hard about controllers. I don't know. I used them for many years. Got the bumpers on this feel so much better too. Now let's go to this. Okay, ergonomically, they made this feel like the Wii Nunchuck. I'm pretty sure they had their like not the because you had the Move controllers that you use for the PlayStation here, but this feels like almost like a steering wheel or like it is very well formed to the grip, which is surprising for my hand because if we go back to the DualShock 3, this feels small. You have to remember who Japan is designing for, which is Japan, or sorry, so who Sony is designing for, which is Japan. Asian hands generally, like here, if you watch my finger wraps all the way. This is my normal grip. It wraps like I'm hitting it with like in between these, and like it goes much farther. So you can see that the DualSense is made for. My thumb is actually in the middle of these buttons, whereas on the DualShock 4, I can just like my natural position hits Option. Like I hit over all of this stuff, which then it's kind of weird if you're wondering because. How can it be like my natural position be that far forward, right? But then hitting this stick, if you watch, this would unbalance my hand, and that's where I want the thicker grip. Well, then I might as well just use a DualShock 3 because you have controller there when you shift your hand out. I'm going to do an exaggeration. Xbox, your hand is in this way and tilted upwards like this, right? DualShock 3, your hand is flatter and out like that. Like it basically rests in your hand. You're not, ooh, whereas on the Xbox, you're like gripping it and gripping the underside here, you know, like that. And then you can press your trigger, roll up to the top. Now, a lot of PlayStation games are much more oriented to needing to use both the trigger and the bumper at the same time. Like it might be guard, attack, heavy attack. Like that's usually light attack and heavy attack. So it kind of makes sense that this is that way. You can kind of roll up because they made the bumpers much bigger. Here, if you look, the bumper on this guy is not much bigger than on a DualShock 3. It's almost the same size. It's just shaped differently. It's got a round top and it's kind of got a lip at the bottom, right? But it actually curves up this way. Whereas this guy, if you look, it does have that same curve this way with a lip, but then these are like pursed so that you can fairly easily, you know, like roll up and hit that actually. Not as well as, you know, they actually purposely hook this down and over so you can just kind of hit that. I still think they really intend for the 2-finger bumper. A lot of their games, like if you look at God of War, the only reason why I use that is because I played that one on PC, and it has bumper, you know, like light attack, big attack, guard, and I don't know if that's camera fix. Then you're moving around with these, right? And then you do some items or something like that with that, and actions over here. Not like fighting actions, but like interact with object, bring up thing, change whatever. But all your fighting would be over here while you're playing with the sticks. But when you do hold it like this, like not necessarily like this, but like you grip it like that, is surprisingly ergonomic. My issue though is when I go to hit this, like if I'm holding it like this, you see my hand still pops the bottom. Maybe that's just me ergonomically. You guys can let me know. Oh, geez, I got in between numbers. Maybe you guys can let me know down in the comments. But I'm trying to get it closer in, you know, like elbows in. Maybe you can show that on the 0.5. So here, not elbows out, elbows in. You know, get my hands in there. And then we, see? Now maybe I got to unlearn that to like grip. That's straining my hand. So it pops out. That's where I wish there was just a little bit more meat here. But if you do the 2 back bumper guy, you grip the sides quite nicely. You already could do that on the DualShock 4. You know, this is also quite nice. I don't feel like you get the nice, like this is like the way that is. I don't see how that wraps around. Like that's almost like I'm thinking like ergonomic, like flight sim controllers, like HOTAS, or even I would say like a gun stock is kind of getting into this, like where it just kind of naturally, you know, like you're putting your hand in there, like so it's nice. I just, as soon as I have to use the joysticks here you can see that immediately pops. I can get a pinky finger fully in that gap. So a bunch of that ergonomics goes away. Now, if I, like I said, if I do this route, is that how I'm supposed to be using this? Is dual finger bumper on the back? Like I said, I know on the older guys, like there were some crazy ways to do it if you're a hardcore gamer, you know. Yeah, if I do it this way, my hand doesn't pop off. But coming from Xbox, where I'm used to planting like this and then just kind of like moving slightly to hit the bumper, trigger, bumper, 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 bumper. You know, and this would be attack, defense. You know, boom, 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 boom. You're using these mainly, and the stick. Then you can kind of like aim, shoot, jump, blah 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 blah. And that's where, at least on the Xbox, I never saw. Like, I would like having 2 underneath here, because then I could have, like, say I'm here, and I could have melee, which would be B for me, and X is reload, you know. Some people want all 4 down there, so you can do A, B, X, Y on the bottom. That way you're never leaving your sticks. You know, that can kind of somewhat be avoided if you move the A, B, X, Y to the bumpers and the trigger, and you're using the sticks to control. You know, you can kind of do that on an Xbox. But then the upper part of your hand up here, let's zoom on in, the upper part of your hand up towards the top here, like as nice as, oh, look at that. Like it goes in real nice. I still think this angle has been lessened. It definitely has been lessened on this, or like maybe softened by the rubber. But this is a much sharper, but it is a sharper angular there. But if you start doing this, if you notice, now this became unergonomic by using the dual bumper, and I've had to do that in games recently. Like I said, one of them quite a while ago now would have been the first, like, was that the redo of God of War or whatever. But there's been other ones where, like, the main controls, a lot of them are Sony or PlayStation primarily, that are now coming to PC, where they often use primarily bumpers and triggers, not ABXY. But if you do that, then this becomes super unergonomic, because you're only touching here. All of that's a huge gap. So I said this when I was talking about the Nintendo Switch controllers. I think when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox, people's preference isn't necessarily the controllers. What it is it's the type of games they played and what platform that was on. And like, I still, even on PC, like I was playing Tales of Burstia. That's why I'm trying to get, I need to order up a battery for this thing, because this is what I want to play my JRPGs with. I just want to sit back, have this thing just chilling in my hand, you know, boom, 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 do, you know, like, so lightweight. Like, this is the weird stepchild, if you ask me. Now I think this controller is just too small for my hands as well. Like, all of my stuff overlaps. Like, once again, I'm hitting it with this part of my finger here, not, I imagine people are supposed to, is that. But if you notice, I have so much of my hand hanging off. These are built like tanks, I'll admit. The DualShock 4s are, and maybe you guys that are Sony peeps don't agree with me. This I do like as an improvement. The share and options, like right above here, effectively Nintendo did that as well with the plus and minus. That's a huge improvement. Not having to like go there and just being able to go boop boop. Big improvement. Trackpad, which actually can work with Windows too, with the right software and drivers. That's cool. This has motion controls. I think this has motion controls. If I recall, with the DualShock 4 and Windows, you might even be able to use the headphone out. It's pretty weak though. That's why a lot of the people that review, oh, this thing still has juice. Oh, it's synced up. I was not expecting that. Let's turn that off. I forgot I synced this to the home theater PC. So yeah, I'm gonna have to play with this and see how I like it. It is so much bigger and chunkier. I mean, it's still not as heavy as this thing. This thing's a freaking weapon. It's still not as heavy as the, but I don't have the $200 version of this. Maybe if I end up coming to like it enough. You never know. I think that's weird where it's just like chunked off. Like normally they would have rounded it like that one was, but they just like chunked it, chopped it off. I mean, I guess you never would. These grips are so long, even for my size hand, and I don't have an amazingly large hand. There are plenty of mechanics and tradespeople and everything like that that I've met that have bigger hands than I think they could even grip this thing. This is a bigger grip than even the X, like, because the modern Xbox controller sized down a bit for the Xbox One, and I think I would say it even slimmed a little bit on the Series. Now, when you go up to the Elite, or Elite Series 2, I think this is, I feel like it's sized up a little bit from, you know, whatever version this one is particularly. Had to get this one though because of the clear yellow. I think it's a really cool combo with different color triggers. You know, that's a vibe. But this thing, like I said, you should have no problem. My fingers gripping, like I'm right in the middle of the D-pad. I always thought this D-pad looked cool. That reminds me of the would that be the, not the Vita, the one prior to that. But I feel like those their mobile controllers had this sort of translucent D-pad like this. I know a lot of people prefer these individual button style, even though like underneath here you can see the whole thing tips. There. Now, there, same thing there. So, but a lot of people prefer this because it's easier because you're basically touching this plastic to do like fighting moves effectively. This is, I feel like this is even smaller than the one on here. Yeah, so somehow they made the D-pad smaller, right? And then moved it further away from the, like, I don't know. I've used the DualShock 4 for, like I said, Tony Hawk. I was actually playing some, because this was working wired, even though the battery's dead. This was working wirelessly. You just saw it sync up with the home theater PC. Was using that for Tales of Burstia. It was fine. This just, using a DualShock 4 just makes me want to get my DualShock 3 fully working without a cable, so I don't have to, because I'm so far from the TV at the moment. I'm basically stretching the cable, and then the kitten goes after the cable. Oy, oy, oy. Not my huge jam. I'm interested in how this plays out. It is comfortable either way. This feels like I said, it feels like a gun grip, like a HOTAS, like a. My only issue is that if I use the single finger in the back, like you're just using these two, and you can easily roll up and hit this. Maybe not as nice as on Xbox, but it is far more viable. And I could see based on the grip how people, you know, like this. The issue is that once again you're on the D-pad, Now, there are a lot of D-pad heavy still to this day where, like, these are just used for navigation of a map, right? And you're still D-pad heavy and, you know, I was going to say ABXY, but, you know, it's stars for a triangle, circle, heavy. Yeah, so I think what helps is they like, this is a smaller controller. It's like a condensed layout. This distance here is wider. I can tell you that. It's much closer to DualShock 3 when it comes to button, and it comes to, okay, once again, if I go to this stick, I'm covering these buttons about halfway on the buttons. If I go here, I'm a little bit over halfway on the buttons. If I go here, I'm barely covering the buttons. Despite the buttons being closer together, they're farther from the stick. Like I said, I always felt like if you're gonna try to make this thing ergonomic, like you know, DualShock 3 ergonomic like an Xbox controller, that was not far enough. This does seem like ergonomically here it's good. The issue then becomes when you pivot your hand here and that opens up the grip here. You can't. So then you have to do, and for a lot of PlayStation centric games, that is the way to go. So but then if you notice, if you're doing this PlayStation centric game style, accessing this while you can do it is not great. So I'm interested in your guys' insight on that, because yeah, that was the first time with the Switch that I ever thought about, like, hey, I actually think people's preferences on what controllers they like actually come down to the platforms they grew up with, and then with that inherently the games. Of course, even though it has a tear, it doesn't work. Do they ever fucking work? I don't think they do. I don't think the tears ever fucking work. Well, I haven't put them on there. It's like when you go to open up your cheese and you don't get Sargento cheese and you get the cheap cheese and it doesn't tear right and then you can't reseal it. I might be showing some of my bias there. I wonder, does the manual for this PlayStation controller say how to hold it, or is it just... Oh, they give you a fold-out fucking map. This has got to just be safety bullshit. And they show you what the buttons do and everything. They don't show you how to hold it, though. I was just wondering if they had like an intended way of using it. By the way, going from Xbox to ABXY, right? ABXY, right? To, I was just playing my Switch 2, to BAYX is blah. They always say press, what is it? Press B to jump, and I go there, and that's A, and I don't jump. It's bad enough on Nintendo to the point of, and I may switch it, I may not, because my brain eventually, when playing enough of it, will get into it, right? But I think I saw it in the original Switch. I can see it in the base settings of the Switch 2, where you swap the A and B buttons, right? And then I can also see it in Donkey Kong Bonanza. There's a way to switch the dig down and the jump button. Now I'm getting used to it because it kind of makes sense in Donkey Kong Bonanza, because that is jump, which is A, right? But then that is dig up, that's dig straight, and that's dig down. So you can swap these, but then it would be dig up, dig straight, dig down, jump. That would hurt my brain more than these controls being, like these two being effectively swapped. Now in Japan, don't forget, that for the US, that means good. These are swapped, which is interesting. I have a used DualShock 3 because I wanted to see if this one was truly the issue or if the battery was it and if I should get it. But I don't know if it's a Japanese controller, but it has a Japanese box, and that would mean that these two are swapped. So that might be another reason why you would have that swap, is because in Japan, these two buttons are swapped, but their meaning is also swapped. This is back in the US, right? And that is select. Yes, like select it. X, X, X. In Japan, when you select something, you circle it. And when you don't want something, you cross it out. So that is why those are swapped in the US, is because it's actually the same button, effectively, right? Because they're saying yes, yes, and then X, no, back, back, right? But the basically the icons on these controllers are swapped, and they have to swap it in the game, they have to swap it in the console, etc. Now, why Nintendo has... You're like, oh, you're saying Nintendo's wrong and Xbox is right. I don't know. I'm just, you know, because this is yes, 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 back. The Xbox layout is yes, yes, back. It's the same as Sony's. Even though the buttons are different, right? But then Nintendo is like, yes, yes, back. You know what I'm saying? But for Donkey Kong, I don't want to swap it because it makes more sense in my brain to, you know, dig up, dig straight, dig down. Even though this should be jump. That should be jump. Maybe I'll swap it. But it makes sense the way that they have it, even though jump should be A. But jump is A because A is there on the freaking Nintendo. It just, when you're playing with all these different controllers, that's why if you guys are like, oh, with my, like, I use the, like, when the game's like, oh yeah, press F or press B to do an action, I'm like, oh, what fucking button is that? Because I just map that to do actions. Like, normally this stick is move, that's crouch, that's trying to remember, that's jump. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, like, okay, what did they use? Okay, are they using C or are they using control for crouch? Dude, don't know. I figure that out when the game comes out. I map it to the keys that I expect it to be mapped to on that thing, and I never think about it again. So when the game's like, press this button to do this action, my brain locks up and is like, oh shit, I don't know what that button is. And often, because my keyboard's right there, I just smash the button on the keyboard. It works. But that's the same thing. Like, after playing Donkey Kong for an hour or so, I didn't even start thinking about what buttons I was pressing, except when it was prompting me, because I know how to, oh, you gotta dig, you gotta jump, you gotta, I don't care what button it is, right? Okay. Wow. Look at that. That doesn't look half bad. USB-C. They do give you a USB-A. Oh my gosh, Razer, look at this. It stays attached and has multiple notches. Razer makes a better cord loop for their detachable cord for their charging docks than they do for their own freaking mice. Because on their mice, as soon as you unhook it, right, this thing goes flying because they don't retain it. Or on some of these, you loop it once through, and then it stays on there, and then it retains, right? Yeah, no, they got rid of that on their mouse. This used to be on some of their mice. Now they have one where when you pull it, it just flies. Now, Vaxi's doing the same thing, which I also find annoying. They went backwards because their old cables that were, here, like this one, as you can see, were self-retaining, just like this Razer one that you're seeing, right? But all their new cables have the same as the stupid new Razer one, where it doesn't stay on the cable And all that's going to do for you when it doesn't stay on the table means you're going to lose it. Because you're going to take this off. It's going to go patong, fly across the room, never to be seen again. I can also illustrate how much this is trying to be an Xbox controller. Even though it's bad at doing it. You'll be like, hey, that PlayStation one looks rather familiar. Yep, there's the Xbox one. Also with retained, now the plug in the back isn't recessed. Oh gosh, throwing it at shit. I see, Forza Horizon 5, I was right. And they actually weighted this now too, which is good, because here's my own modified one. Just put a rubber base on the bottom, see? And PlayStation 1, nice rubber base on the bottom. The original design version of these didn't have that. It was just this. It wasn't even a charger originally. But I added E-grips on the bottom. There you go, controller gear, patented. So this is technically made for a Xbox One controller, not an Xbox Series, so there's a little bit of movement there. Here's something interesting though. But I don't actually even use this for Xbox controllers anymore, because the controller that this went for is my original Xbox Design Lab. And oh yeah, by the way, I added weights because it being just this thin piece of plastic, like I want to be able to take this and just, without adding the weights that and the grips, that wouldn't happen. Like I said, eventually it developed into that. Here's the thing though. Here's a PlayStation. Oh, hold on, I gotta do better job of that. It fits perfectly for, look at that, only a little bit of movement. So that's how much they were trying to make the DualShock 4 kind of mirror Xbox, is it actually fits on their own controller holder. Now, this one uses these charge pins down there because this is an internal bat, right? And there you go, the charge pins are on there. This is less weighted than this is. You can see the design is slightly different, but it's also very, very similar. So, yeah, just thought you might find that interesting. I highly recommend, if you're going to get a controller and you want a charging cradle port to stand out, the controller gear ones, which are now the Razer ones, I'm guessing, at least from my understanding, they must have either licensed or leased the patent to it, because if you go on Amazon, the recommended replacement battery for this guy, which is the Razer one, see, Razer charge cradle, in here you'll find Razer battery, right? The replacement batteries are actually controller gear batteries. Now, here's one downside. If you notice, there are not control pins on this. It's just a plastic wedge that holds it there. And so it doesn't actually interface with... It interfaces using, like, where you put the AA batteries, not where the official battery pack goes, which is kind of annoying. So that means you can't charge this over USB-C anymore. And like any battery life, it thinks this is like a AA. Now these are set up to work correctly with AA's that are like a nickel metal hydride, right? And if you look at the chemistry of this battery, I don't know if it even says on this one. Yeah, I don't think it says on this one. It would say on the controller gear ones, but they're nickel metal hydride. This, oh, there you go, NIMH right there. NIMH. So you're gonna have less issue leaving these on charge because they work more similar to like a NiCad. But it's kind of a bummer. I really wish they could have gotten, like, I mean, like, this is officially licensed to the point where Microsoft was selling these with their Xbox Design Lab controllers. That's how I got that original stand. And then later on, I got matching brown and tan ones for my Noctua themed Xbox One controllers that are somewhere in the house. They used to be my office controllers. We'd play Rocket League up on the big monitor in the office. So you can just toss it on there and look at that. They even got licensed for IP to match them. That's one thing that Razer started doing. Really cool. Downside is when Razer did this, yes, they may change the dock to USB-C, but this end is still USB-A, and they don't give you a brick to plug it in. So I have the one that slightly predates that. So you can see we have a rubber base now. You can see it still says controller gear, right? And this was bought from Microsoft. And you can see I put black. I was talking about my headphones over there, putting vinyl on there. Just because what ended up happening is this green. I could have done a better job looking at that now. I could clean that up with an X-Acto blade. But what ended up happening is having the front of this be this bright green, light would hit it and just get, like, it would be sitting on my speaker and I would just get blinded next to the TV and I would see the green and I'd be like, green, 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 green. Yeah, and this is an Xbox Design Lab. Sadly, a lot of the blacks only come in black or white, no matter what. But this is my yellow, my Xbox Design Lab that I made before I made this guy. And this is a, you can see by the matte guy there, that this is a series controller. It's got like the little dimple bumpy guys on there. At this time, they had kind of reverted because the Xbox Design Lab, if you go back to my Xbox Ones with the Noctua on them, or the Noctua colorway, they actually have a similar grip to this, not this pattern, but like rubber grips. When they came out with the Xbox Series controller in Xbox Design Lab, you couldn't do rubber grips anymore. And also, like, stuff like this, it's only like the bare plastic for the triggers. You can do, back with the Xbox One, towards then when I made the Noctua ones, you could do some of these like metallicized stuff. Now that's all back. Even if you don't get the Ultra Series 2, you could do it in a standard controller. That wasn't available when I made this, but I think this one's pretty darn stealth. Yellow with black and actually dark gray sticks. I could have done black, but it looked too much. Black buttons. See, that's where the black also I don't think stands out, because this is black, that's blacked. It'd be nicer if that was gray, but just not available with that. USB-C, whereas the Xbox One controllers would have been micro B. But this controller is actually, this actually explains why also. At the time of this coming out, Controller Gear did not make Xbox Series charging stands and backplates, right? If you can see, this takes an old school AC adapter with a barrel plug. So that, okay, so this is worse than USB-C, but it does come with the wall charger. So a horse apiece, I guess. I'd prefer the new Razer one. Kind of be nice if they gave you a wall charger. Not that you can't get one. Now, as you can see, this was made improperly, in my opinion, because, so you might see this. Watch this. Rotates. That means there's a high point in the middle, and you can actually kind of see it, right? So you're like, well, why don't the new Razer ones do that? Well, Razer tested for that. There's a hole in the middle. It's only on the outside that they put
rubber grip. And if you look, that was translated into the PlayStation one as well. It doesn't rotate like that, nor does the Forza one, right? Because they didn't do a whole rubber bottom on it, and have it be proud in the middle, so you can kind of like rotate it. It's not truly grippy. You're seeing product development right there. That's the stuff that I'm always interested in. Is like why, and I can tell you, watch this. The PlayStation, when you put that on there, that thing here, I'll even move the controller. That thing is solid, right? This guy, you put it over here, and the rest of my story is basically the controller gear one never got updated for the Xbox Series line. However, you could get replacement back plates. This is the Xbox Series back plate, obviously. So it has 3 of these tabs. The Xbox One only has a single one, and it's a bigger one in the middle. And then the other thing is, like, on the bottom here, this is a different shape. So that is why that's black. The replacement covers only came in white and black. And then after this, they switched to Razer making them. Maybe that was why. Maybe they had some of these in series, but all the ones that I saw were Xbox One variants. So I actually have the cover in this green color, but it wouldn't actually fit this because this is an Xbox One controller, or a Series controller, not a One controller. But I just, got the replacement back, and it works. I would have preferred probably a different color dock. I'm thinking there just might have not been one at the time. Not that it really matters once you put the little black 3M vinyl on there. Like I said, could have done a little bit better job, but we don't inspect it that closely. But here, watch, this thing rotates even with the controller on, with the weight. So now you can see why they removed. Look at that guy. That one doesn't move. That Razer one does not move. So that's why they didn't put the grip in the middle. Now you're like, yours doesn't have that issue. Yeah, because I left in the dead middle a hole. You can see on this, though, that the very corners of this are more worn than more in the middle, which is interesting. But that doesn't move. E-grips are impressive and impressively expensive nowadays, like everything. Want to get yourself a 4x8 sheet of MDF? That's going to be like $50. I remember they were like $16. So, questions, comments down below. Let me know how you like. Do you think the DualSense? Oh, the DualSense Edge is the $200 one. Do you think the DualSense? I've heard people that are die-hard, like you'll see it on. This is why I can't believe all the people on YouTube all the time. People that were die-hard Xbox controller fans are like, the new PlayStation controller is actually goated. It's actually better than the Xbox one. And I still, unless you're playing games that utilize both of these very, very regularly, I don't know if I could agree with you that. Also, the person who's used to the Xbox controller, holding it like this, one finger on the back here, rolling up and hitting that, or hitting this like that, they're not going to like. It's better on this, right? Like, you can do it, but as soon as you have to go to the sticks, your hand goes off the controller. So realistically, I'm thinking intended play is that, because it has been all the way back to that era, and especially in the DualShock 4 era. I will say lining. Okay, so the Xbox ones of these, because they align where the weight is back here with all the weight already in the thing, you can just literally like chuck them on there. The PlayStation one, you do have to kind of align a little bit more. If you get it off, because there's like a peg that goes right there, you do kind of need to do that. But I think the only ones that are on sale for the Razer one, I can throw it in the comments, is the white and black. But I mean, even with the blue, I thought this was black based on the colorway. Oh, it's pairing. Don't pair. I charge you first. Yeah, so I have far too many controllers. A lot of it comes down to, like, I want to play JRPGs. I want nostalgia playing JRPGs with that guy. I need to get it up and running. If I'm playing something first person, pick your weapon Xbox wise, probably going with this guy. This is my, I mean, I built it to be my perfect one. They're so smooth. The only thing, like I said, I found is actually like playing a lot when I put 40 hours into Tales of Burstia. This rubber was actually rubbing my hand raw on this part of it right here, right there. So it is. You want a grippy controller? That is a grippy controller. I think I'm good on Xbox controllers now. So it wasn't the end of my life when my original like SNES sort of toy themed one broke. But having like one of every generation, I basically bought this because I couldn't buy a new one of those at the time. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But this is an improvement over the DualShock 4. That's for sure. We'll have to see how... It is a chonk controller that's real heavy, though. Jeez. And I know it has all those like motors and stuff. That's why it's called the DualSense. Is because it's got really fine-tuned haptic feedback. More so than even like the Switch. And that sort of stuff has. So maybe that's where all the weight comes in. Especially when you need the battery to run it. I think it's an improved controller. I really do over the DualShock 4, but the DualShock 4 is not a high point for me. This is them trying to step away from the DualShock 3 and doing it poorly, if you ask me. Like, that's just awkward. You can't tell me that angle there is not awkward. This distance, they made this bigger, back bigger, and they actually moved it closer, which it should be. Like, I kind of showed you how I think that this, for me, I would want to, like, you know, lower stick here, because that starts getting kind of like right there. Each their own. Let me know. Or are you like, oh no, I gotta use Switch Pro controller? It's actually pretty nice. I actually think, if you watch my Switch video, that I prefer the Switch 1 Pro controller or the Switch 2. They sized down, they slimmed down the Switch 2 Pro. Probably better for kids, which is like the main market, and probably better for their home demographic as well. Not better for this guy behind the camera with his, you know, white American meat paws. Sadly. It feels built really nice. I also don't... The one thing I don't like is how the designs of it have gone very sterile. It's like the Panera Bread of controllers. I like a little pizzazz. For this one, I literally just bought the loudest one off the shelf I could get. Because, you know, in a dark room, in a home theater area, I'll see this. I'll see the yellow. That thing is gone. It usually nowadays has a cable attached to it, though, so not an issue. The red's gorgeous. I originally was going to get green, but shit pops. Somebody asked me why I didn't do black up here, and that is, I don't know. That was the one choice I kind of was like, what color to make the bumpers. And some people otherwise to bottom, because that's a different color red than the top and the bumper. That's why I think this sort of works, you know, translucent red into this metallic red into this a little bit more pinkish red. It's not pink, but like it's less saturated. Like, that's got to be one of the most gorgeous reds of all time. Like bordering on Top Ray Escape Key red right there. I don't know if the pixel's showing off the color very well, but you can see my little, you know, tastefully touches of yellow with it. Triggers, I wanted to go, that's actually yellow. It's not gold if I recall correctly, but it turned it out pretty gold. But then that kind of matches, that is gold. So it kind of all, I don't know. There were a couple different ways I could have done this, you know. I've actually been able to use this thing lately too, because for the first couple months, didn't have any free time. You know, I used it right when I got it, like once, and it just stayed nice in its little container, not getting dust on it. And then, you know, until I started playing some more, made a point of, hey, instead of watching movies or TV, I'm gonna play some video games. And I enjoyed it, obviously. And then I put way too much time into Tales of Burstia. We now have over 40 hours in there. You know, maybe I give this guy a try. Once we go into Tales of Burstia, being the age of that game, because it's from 2017. The only natively supported controllers are the Xbox line. The other ones you have to let Steam convert it. It's been all right to do that. Like I was playing with this guy, and I was playing with that guy. I think that might have natively worked USB, but you know, it's you know, despite that being like a JRPG, you'd assume it will work with PlayStation, but 2017, nobody's really using the PlayStation. Not nobody, but you have to go out of your way to get this working. And this guy does work plug and play and Bluetooth, but like getting the drivers for this to show up as X input, like if the game didn't take D input, you know, that's outside of what most people are doing for gaming. Questions and comments down below. I am getting gassed, and King Artie over here already is. Look, he's a flat cat. Okay. You a flat cat, King Arthur? He's missing his scratcher. But twice I've had the scratcher over there, and it's gotten peed on. So it can't be over there anymore. Can't have pee. Pee's bad. Well, let me know what you think. Would you have gone this colorway? Would you have gone with one of the other versions of this? I thought this was going to be way more green than it was, and I didn't know it had that much flake. And I didn't know that bottom part was blue. It is growing on me as I see it more. But comments, questions down below. What's your favorite controller? Is it tied to a specific game or console? What do you grab when you're playing PC games with the controller? What's your go-to? Wired Xbox 360, anybody? Peace.